Greetings everyone, this is Rambling Collector here, and welcome back for another book review. The subject of today's video, the autobiography called Bill and I by Dalan E. Smith, or as the whole title goes, Bill and I, Building William Shatner's Belle Reve Ranch. So, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I picked up this book, I did not know what to expect, but in all honesty, I felt a calling to it. I was craving some nonfiction, and I thought to myself, well, why not? Especially with the fact that it is a much smaller book, at around 100 or so pages, 129, give or take. But overall, this was actually surprisingly enjoyable, and I thoroughly found myself enthralled with it. But that's enough staying here on the title page. Let's get into the overall review, shall we? So first and foremost, some of the highlights here from this is that Bill and I provides an interesting look into the more personal life of William Shatner, showing more of some of his private life away from the big screen, seeing some of the man behind the image of the famous Captain Kirk. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not even know that William Shatner even owned a ranch before reading this book at all. I only knew him as the star of Captain Kirk from Star Trek. I did not know, in fact, that he actually had owned multiple ranches or that he'd learned how to ride a horse. So this actually provided a really interesting glimpse into his personal life beyond just the Hollywood fame. But in my opinion, this also comes down to the writer. Dalan Smith really did a fantastic job of showcasing the trials and tribulations of building as well as funding a horse ranch, but also showing some of the more beautiful moments of life that took place on the ranch. From visiting horse auctions to spending time with family, this book really showcased a very grounded story that can make for enjoyable reading. Like for instance, you learn things about how it is to both build as well as maintain a ranch, from water irrigation to taking care of the horses, breeding certain breeds of horses, in a sense, looking for what to do, how to provide for these horses, and keep the grounds running smoothly. And that is precisely what the author here did. He set a very grounded story that showcased some of the tragedies, such as losing a baby foal, or even just things not going well, the stresses of life financially, from either his real estate business not doing too well up in Idaho, all the way to dealing with having to keep the ranch up and running, trying to divide his attention between both of his separate work areas, but also making sure to spend time with his children and his wife. And you really get that sense of a grounded perspective here with Dalan Smith, even despite the fact that he is exposed to the higher life by associating with and being friends with William Shatner. And even then, he still maintains a very grounded personality. And that's something I genuinely appreciated. But more than that, this really does show a very interesting part of life that we never thought of, such as ranch life, what it's like. Taking care of the horses, learning how to ride them, taking care of the grounds, every other area where it belongs. But, put simply, let's go ahead and move into the next section, shall we? So, just from glancing at this book, one of the things that I can genuinely say is that this is the main reason why I absolutely enjoy autobiographies, especially when they're written by the person. Because at the end of the day, you really get to peel back those layers of just seeing this person as they are, as a person. Not the famous Hollywood star, not a famous singer. You really do get to see the person behind the fame. And in many ways, it can be a very tragic, but also very humbling story in and of itself, because then you really learn to connect and feel yourself with these famous people. You learn that they are just like you, people. It makes it easier to understand them. And in this case, while we don't really get much of Bill's perspective, Looking at Dalan and learning about some of his life as well as his interactions and friendship with William Shatner as sort of an outsider looking in was an interesting perspective, but more than that, Dalan also got to see the more human side of Bill, see some of his more frustrating moments, times when he simply wanted to be left alone, but also just interacting with the people that he made a community with around the Belle Reve Ranch, as well as eventually how things became separate. How eventually the ranch just wasn't working anymore, and he decided, you know what, I've done my part, this chapter is over, but I'm still at least wanting to spend time with my family. That alone is a very grounded and really just human thing. And that in general is what I love about autobiographies, is how it makes these famous people feel more human outside of the legends and stories that we hear of them online and what we see of them in their filmography or discography, what have you. Some really great examples that I've read thus far have been, of course, Will Smith, Britney Spears, and even Jeanette McCurdy, all of whom had very interesting stories to tell, and really learning about them as a person was a fascinating exercise in and of itself. It really does peel back the Hollywood image or the character image that we have of them. Because if you had asked me a while back if I knew anything about Will Smith or Britney Spears or even Jeanette McCurdy, I would have told you no. I would have told you I only knew Will Smith for the roles that he played in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or even, for example, his roles in I Am Legend, or of course as Hancock. Those are roles, though, that he has played. But learning about Will as a person, it was interesting. Hell, even before that, I never even knew that he was a rapper, which makes sense, considering that I did see some of his music where I was playing Just Dance, but the dots just never really connected at the time, if you know what I mean. But then Jeanette McCurdy, reading her story as well, was extremely sad when you learn just what she went through and that she was one of the few who really saw the horrors of Hollywood. All of it. But more importantly, just the strained relationship that she dealt with from her mother. And of course, with Britney Spears, I knew next to nothing about her except some of her music growing up. But then, reading her story really paints the picture, and frankly, it is a sad one. Even then, I've still got some other autobiographies in my collection that I am very eager to read. Another good one in general was actually from R.I. Pulsgrove. Learning their story, or even in a small part, was also fun. But some other ones that I have in my collection as of right now include Trevor Noah and Sir Patrick Stewart, so I am very excited to see just what those stories are going to showcase, and more importantly, the story of their lives, learning to see more of the person behind the famous Hollywood image. I'm very excited to see where that's going to come. But that being said, let's move on to the score. Overall, I'd like to say that Bill and I is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. It's a very little known book that I would highly encourage others to actually take a look into and read. You really do get an interesting showcase of just ranch lifestyle. You get a little peek into William Shatner himself, but more importantly, the author's story for this aspect of their life was honestly really refreshing. And this is one of the main reasons that I still love the nonfiction genre to this day, especially when it comes to autobiography style of writing and, of course, reading. But overall, I would love to hear your all's perspective if you do check out this book for yourself. Let me know what you think, or me know what you thought of this review down in the comment section below. And let me know if you yourself are interested in reading and checking out this book as well. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you like this video, feel free to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe if you're interested for more, and thank you once again for listening, fellow readers. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.